Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players. Here on this show, we take a look at an up-and-coming North American talent. Each week, we check out a new player to get a feel for their personality and their playstyle. On Thursday, we interview the player to find out more about who they are and why you should care about them. On Friday, we watch 3 of their games as we cover their playstyle in each of the 3 matchups. Saturday, we take a look at an awesome game they played and relax with a little bit of fun as we recap the week and get an analysis of the games. Breaking Out will cover 8 players before it culminates into the Breakout Invitational. With a minimum prize pool of $1,000, we find out who is the most likely player to break out of the North American scene. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show about North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. Today on the show, we're going to be taking a look at the 3 games from the week of number 5 for Breaking Out. Complexity is Hendralisk. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players for the Zerg versus Zerg that we're going to be jumping into. On the map Polar Knight, as we spawn up here in the top left or top side of the map Polar Knight, is the red Zerg player representing Team X5. It is Pig. The European player, Exile 5, and spawning down here in the bottom side, we have the blue Zerg player representing Team Complexity. Complexity is Hendralisk. Going under the name Barbados Slim. I suppose that's a thing. I have no idea what a Barbados Slim is, but sounds pretty cool, man. But anyways, Zerg versus Zerg on the map Polar Knight. Polar Knight, a very, very common map for a lot of Zergling, Baneling, early kind of aggression. But I will say that Hendralisk has kind of said, he likes to play a little bit less of an orthodox style. He says that, he's a full-time student. He only really gets to play StarCraft part-time. So in order to make up for the fact that he doesn't have time to grind out a ton of games on the ladder and to have like these amazingly the best mechanics in the world, he has to make up for it with a little bit of intellect and a little bit of using his own head and using his mind to try and overcome his opponent in that regard. So what he says he likes to do is he likes to play a little bit unorthodox, kind of mix in some strange sort of builds, and also play based off of how he thinks his opponent plays. So he identifies, okay, what kind of a player is my opponent? So I don't actually know what he considers Pig, what kind of player he considers Pig to be. But depending on whatever he thinks, he's going to probably be saying, okay, well, Pig likes to play, I don't know, defensively, or Pig likes to play aggressively. So I'm going to open up with this kind of build and put a lot of pressure on him, or, try and take a very fast hatchery or something of the sort. And it's a really, really interesting style to see. We'll have to see how well it ends up working. Right now, it looks like Pig has just been playing pretty standard. He's going to be getting up that nice and early gas geyser, going to be getting up that Zergling speed, whereas actually, Hendralisk, kind of going for that gasless style for now. And this is something that a lot of Zerg players enjoy doing because it allows them to really shoot up in gas much later on. They can kind of delay that Zergling speed for quite a bit of time, get a much better economy, get up that hatchery nice and early as well. And all they have to do is kind of go for some sort of double evolution chamber wall in, plug it up with some queens, etc., and a spine crawler, and you're actually feeling pretty safe against a lot of the speedling aggression. And you can get up those early upgrades, especially once you kind of grab those extra 2 gas geysers a little bit later on to try and catch up in that gas count. So it can be a very, very beneficial opening as long as you can defend against the early aggression. We'll have to see, is Pig actually going to put on any of that early aggression? For now, it's looking like it's just going to be a pretty regular game. And again, Polar Knight is a really great map for that early aggression because it's just such a straight shot over to your opponent's main base. It's basically like a straight line almost. Hendralisk's going to move across the map in that more or less straight line with those initial 2 Zerglings. We'll have to wait and see what is he actually going to witness in Pig's base. He kind of comes in over here, the Queen poking away at those Zerglings, but a nice little split up. Sees, okay, no gas geysers at the natural expansion, and I believe he should have seen one of the gas geysers over in the main base. Yeah, he does see one of the gas geysers here. He sees there's no second gas geyser or anything crazy taken, so he sees, okay, my opponent went for a pretty regular gas timing, gonna have Zergling speed out, he's gonna have to go for that wall, and I'm actually kind of curious if your opponent also opens up a gasless. I guess that you can actually just skimp out on that wall, and if you would like to. You're gonna have slow Zerglings versus slow Zerglings. It's not really the biggest deal in the world. But regardless, we actually still don't have the wall-in coming down from Hendralisk, which is a bit interesting. But, I guess we are just seeing Pig sort of just drone up, getting up that third expansion very, very quickly, and is now just starting to put some guys back into that gas. So he's going to start to mine away, maybe get it up enough for some of that lair tech. It's actually getting supply block, as he did end up losing an Overlord to one of the Queens, trying to return the favor, but fortunately for Hendralisk, he actually does manage to get his Overlord over that cliff just in time. And Hendralisk is going to go ahead and grab his own third expansion. So really cool to see that both these players playing a very, very macro-oriented ZvZ. I mean, we're already at just, what, 6 minutes, 40 seconds, and we kind of have third expansions going down, almost built. We have, let's see, 42 and 37 drones, so not really a whole lot of big early Zergling, Baneling, or Roach aggression coming out just yet, but there is the Roach Warren now being thrown down for Hendralisk, as well as the Evolution Chamber researching Pulse 1 missile attacks. We have another Evolution Chamber coming out that's probably going to be researching Carapace. At the same time, Pig is getting up his own single Evolution Chamber, it looks like. Not going to be going for that second one. And instead going to be using some of that extra gas to go into that lair tech, which Hendralisk is going to be delaying for a little bit. So you can kind of see where the gas is sort of being distributed for these two players, sort of differing it up just a little bit. So these Roaches from Pig could have that Roach speed that allows them to move on a little bit quicker, get into the concave a little bit faster, and really get those kind of advantageous positions. Whereas Hendralisk is just going to have slightly better upgrades, and he's going to have that Carapace upgrade. But I've heard from a lot of Zerg players that they feel like that just a single upgrade in this matchup does not play the biggest role. So I almost feel like Hendralisk is maybe going to want to hold off on forcing any kind of engagements until maybe he can get up the 2-2 upgrades or something of the sort. But for now, lair tech has finally been started, and Hendralisk is going to be catching up, playing a little bit of catch up with Pig's lair tech, as that's already kind of finished up. And ooh, Pig is starting to produce a couple of Roaches. He hasn't started that second armor of the, I should say the first armor upgrade, +1 armor upgrades. He just now gets it started. So there's a good like 70 or so time difference between those two Carapace upgrades, and that means that Hendralisk may be able to take advantage of that for about 60 to 70 seconds if one of these players decides to get aggressive during that time. Both of these players producing a lot of Roaches. It's hard to tell right now whether it's going to be defensively or offensively, because honestly both these players have their third expansions up. They're looking to be in more or less similar positions with very slight deviations, but they're going to have pretty similar Roach counts as well. As you can see over here, it is about, it looked like 16 to 7, but now you can see it's actually evening up, as we do have kind of both of them jumping up ahead in little spurts, as that's kind of just the nature of how larva injects work. And actually Pig looking like he wants to knock down these backdoor rocks and go after these rocks. I love it when players do this. I feel like players don't do that enough, to go after these rocks and really just kind of open up the possibility of a very, very safe fourth expansion. Now, Hendralisk doesn't look like he's actually looking to take a fourth expansion anytime just yet, and is actually continuing to produce more Roaches, whereas we can see that over here on the production tab that Pig is actually just kind of trying to edge out a couple extra drones to actually going to be catching up to 60 drones with Hendralisk just now. But still, I think that he's going to be falling just a little bit behind that Roach production. You have 27 to 33 Roaches, about an even number of Roaches on the way for both these players. So going to be a slight advantage over here for Hendralisk in terms of the Roach count. How is this going to go though? We do have Hendralisk starting to move just back to his side of the map. May actually be moving across the map very, very soon, as he's starting to gather up his Roaches. And I mean, we could very well be seeing Hendralisk be aggressive. Honestly, this is a pretty straightforward game for the most part. It's just a very, very even game, and it's honestly going to come down to the engagement angle. I really do think that's going to be the biggest biggest factor in this kind of engagement, as both of them have even upgrades. They have relatively even Roach counts, although actually Hendralisk has managed to climb up ahead in Roaches by quite a bit, and it looks like this may have been a little bit of a mistake from Pig, as now we're going to end up seeing Hendralisk charging into this third expansion with an overwhelming number of Roaches. Drones being pulled off, but is that going to help enough? The Queen's definitely helping a lot for Pig over here with these transfuses going down. It definitely helps to even up the count a little bit, but I mean, Hendralisk is rallying in with additional Roaches. We have a couple of Roaches over here from Pig trying to do a little bit of counter harassment, but it's not really working out too well. And now we can see Hendralisk is just overpowering Pig. Pig is coming in with a couple more hatching Roaches, but is not going to be enough. GG gets called, and Hendralisk going to take a very clear and decisive victory in this Zerg versus Zerg, as Hendralisk just kind of saw the opportunity to, I guess, power up on a couple more Roaches and just push across the map, and he just kind of had around like 10 Roaches more than his opponent. Pig and won. It's really, really weird. And I'm really curious to see what exactly Hendral's thoughts are on the day of analysis. It's going to be on Saturday. But for now, let's go ahead and leave it at that and say, you know what, go ahead and check out Hendralis over on Twitter, Twitch, etc. All the links are over in the Twitch chat as well as over in the down below the video on YouTube. We're actually going to be jumping into the Zerg versus Terran next, so don't go anywhere if you're watching this on Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and find that on the channel. It's somewhere on the channel. Well, we will be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere.